Imagine being born so powerful that even centuries after your death, the strongest demons in history still fear your name. Now imagine that man being reborn, not in his own world, but in a world ruled by curses. A world where monsters don't hide in the shadows, they become kings. And in that world, there was already a king. His name was Sukuna. But this story doesn't begin with Sukuna, it begins with a child. A child born on a rainy night somewhere in rural Japan. The doctors couldn't explain him. The nurses refused to enter the room because the moment he opened his eyes, every curse in the hospital disappeared. Not exorcised, not defeated, gone, as if they had never existed. The child never cried, never smiled, never spoke. He simply stared, as though he had already lived another life. His parents named him Yoriichi, and from the very beginning, something was wrong, or perhaps something too right. At age 3, he could see things nobody else could. Not ghosts, not spirits, the flow, the invisible rhythm connecting all things. He could see people's emotions before they expressed them. He could see muscle movements before they happened. He could see cursed energy itself, not as power, but as breathing. At age 5, he picked up a bamboo stick and accidentally cut down a tree with a single swing. At age 7, he encountered his first curse, a grade 2, a monster that had killed 9 people. The curse lunged, the boy stepped forward, and the curse died before it understood what happened. No curse technique, no domain, no ritual, just one strike. News spread, not among humans, among curses. Something had been born. Something ancient. Something terrifying. Years passed, the boy remained silent. He trained because training was natural. He fought because fighting was necessary. And by age 15, the higher-ups of Jujutsu Society had reached a conclusion they never thought possible. This child was stronger than special grades. Much stronger. But there was one problem. Yoriichi had no curse technique, no inherited ability, no domain expansion, no heavenly restriction, nothing. And yet every curse he encountered died instantly. The strongest sorcerers in Japan began testing him. None lasted more than a few seconds. Some never even realized they had lost. Then came Satoru Gojo, the strongest sorcerer alive. Their meeting lasted exactly 3 minutes. Not because Yoriichi defeated Gojo, but because it was the first time in Gojo's life that someone had made him take a step backward. Gojo laughed, not because it was funny, but because for the first time since his birth, he had met someone who existed outside the rules. "Who are you?" Gojo asked. Yoriichi looked at him and spoke for the first time. "I don't know." Those 3 words terrified Gojo more than any curse ever had, because he realized something. Yoriichi wasn't hiding his power. He genuinely didn't understand it. Then came Shibuya, the night the world changed. Thousands died, cities burned, sorcerers fell, and for the first time in centuries, Roman Sukuna walked freely among humanity. He smiled because nobody could stop him. He slaughtered sorcerers, destroyed buildings, turned entire districts into graveyards. The king of curses had returned. And then, he felt something. A presence. Not cursed energy, something else, something older. Sukuna turned and saw a man standing in the middle of the destruction. No fear, no anger, no excitement, just silence. Yoriichi. For the first time in over 1,000 years, Sukuna frowned. "Who are you?" he asked. Yoriichi looked around at the burning buildings, at the bodies, at the smoke. Then he looked back at Sukuna. "The one who will stop you." Sukuna laughed. The sky shook. Everyone watching understood what that laugh meant. Nobody had spoken to Sukuna like that. Nobody ever survived after speaking to Sukuna like that. "Interesting," Sukuna said. "Let's see how long you last." Then he attacked. The ground exploded, buildings collapsed, the air itself screamed. But Yoriichi wasn't there. He had moved. No, he had disappeared. For the first time in his existence, Sukuna missed. The king of curses turned. Yoriichi stood behind him, sword drawn. Sukuna smiled. Now he was excited. The battle began. Sukuna unleashed curse techniques capable of leveling cities. Yoriichi walked through them, not because he was invincible, but because he could see everything. Every movement, every intention, every possibility. To him, Sukuna's attacks weren't attacks. They were patterns, and patterns could be broken. Minutes passed, then hours. The world watched in horror, not because Sukuna was winning, but because Sukuna wasn't. For the first time in history, the king of curses was being pushed back. Gojo watched from a distance and slowly came to a horrifying realization. Yoriichi wasn't adapting, he wasn't evolving, he wasn't trying harder. This was simply who he was, a man born beyond reason.
Then came Sukuna, did something he had never done before. He became serious. Malevolent shrine erupted. The sky split apart. Reality itself bent under Sukuna's domain. Everything inside its radius would die. That was the rule. That was the law. But Yoriichi had spent his entire existence breaking laws. He closed his eyes and remembered. Not memories, instinct. A dance beneath the sun. A battle from another life. A promise. Then he breathed. Once, twice, 13 times. And for the first time since becoming the king of curses, Sukuna felt fear. Because the man standing before him had changed. No, he had become complete. Yoriichi opened his eyes, and the world became still. Even the domain stopped moving. Even the wind stopped blowing. Sukuna attacked. Yoriichi moved. Nobody saw what happened. Not Gojo, not the curses, not the spectators, not even Sukuna himself. There was only silence. Then blood. A line appeared across Sukuna's chest. Then another. Then another. 13 cuts. Perfectly placed, perfectly timed. The king of curses staggered backward. He looked down, confused. Impossible. He was Roman Sukuna. He was the strongest. He stopped. Because standing before him wasn't a sorcerer, wasn't a swordsman, wasn't even a human. It was something he had never encountered before. A man born solely to destroy monsters. And Sukuna suddenly understood. All those years ago, if this man had existed in his era, there would never have been a king of curses. Sukuna smiled. Not out of arrogance, out of respect. Beautiful, he whispered. Then he fell. The domain shattered, the sky returned, and silence covered the world. Nobody cheered, nobody celebrated, because nobody understood what they had just witnessed. The impossible had happened. The strongest curse in history had lost. Not to a stronger curse, not to a stronger sorcerer, but to a man who existed outside the rules of both. Gojo approached. Yoriichi stood silently, the same expression he had always worn. No pride, no victory, no satisfaction. Was he strong? Gojo asked. Yoriichi looked toward the horizon. Yes. And end? Yoriichi closed his eyes. For the first time, he smiled. I remembered who I was. And somewhere beyond time, beyond curses, beyond death itself, the sun rose once again.